Hello, here we are again. Today we're gonna talk about density. And I think our tag on the notifications we put out there said SMP is not just for balding males. And I think many of you know that, many of you that know me know that I started out doing only density. I was scared to do a bald guy because the training that I got was so bad. So, you know, I'm really amazed at how underestimated this market is. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. I know a lot of you girls have asked me about working on females, and many trainers barely touch on it. A lot of people don't even consider it to be SMP, but it's going to be an emerging market that's going to be worth putting a little energy into. So we'll let you guys get settled and come on. I know we're doing this early on the West Coast, but it's a little easier on the people on the East Coast, so we thought we'd shake it up. All right. If you're watching me now, don't forget, do a 1. And if you're watching us on replay, you know, give us a 2 so that we can track who's coming from where and who's watching when. That always is helpful. Those of you that might be already ready, have your chair pulled up. Also remember that we're trying to build that YouTube channel, Pam's Impressions, Pam's with an apostrophe. And go there and you can check out, there's some other little videos, shop talk stuff that I've added on there that'll help some of you that are new in the industry along the way. We also asked for you to write some questions if you had questions about density. Some of those of you that are already doing density or are considering getting into it, if you have questions, you know we want you to jump in today, so don't hesitate. I've got Heidi helping me here today, so she'll relay questions if they come across our screen, and hopefully we can help some of you with this and get you moving forward, helping some of these ladies and even men that have thinning hair. So we'll give you guys a few minutes to get going. I don't know how long. I'm not usually waiting for late people. I'm terrible.
So Linda Perry's on. Holly Marie says hi.
Hi, Holly.
And hi, Karen.
Hi,
as far as that.
Karen's on
Yeah.
from Vancouver, Washington. Nice. That's a ways down the road. I'll be coming through there Easter, the week before Easter. I'll be coming Friday or Saturday, so maybe we can hook up. Yeah, I know in the middle of the afternoon, it's a weird time to do this, but...
Oh, Holly's saying her sound's on high, but she can barely hear us. Is that better, Holly?
Yeah, Holly, tell us if you're getting... Usually my big mouth is blasting everyone out, so...
How's that? How's the sound now, guys, on...
Is it better, Heidi? Or
Holly? Wondering if, because it's resting.
Is it resting?
I'm going to move it a tiny bit here, and you tell me, Holly, if that sounds better.
Who's watching? Is Holly watching it on Instagram or on?
She says she's got it on high, but she's on Facebook.
Okay. Is that better?
How's that, Holly?
Holly, are you hearing us yet? Karen, are you hearing us?
Yep, Karen says awesome.
Oh, good. We got one side on.
All right, there we go. All right. Holly, yep, better.
Oh, cool.
So away you go.
So have you guys been doing density? Karen, have you gotten any bites on density clients? I know that, you know, your daughter's a hairdresser, so you're in a perfect situation to be able to pull in clients with thinning. You know, your daughter is washing the fibers and the topics and the paint out of people's hair, so you're in a perfect situation to get some up close and personal time with people that are already in your location for referrals. So I would think that would be a really good place. I know I got 1 or 2 questions here already, so we'll wait for a couple more people and then tell me when you want me to move on, Heidi.
I think you're good. You've got about 10 people.
Okay, so let's get started, you guys. I appreciate you being on time, and everybody's got things to do, so I'm glad that you were able to get some time out of your afternoon to join us. You know, talking about density, I think it amazes me how in the market, I feel like the female market is really underestimated. I know that a lot of guys don't want to do it. Men, you know, a lot of the guys that are doing SMP for balding men, they are coming in as clients first. I mean, a majority of them are coming in as clients. They have their head done. They want to share how cool it is with people. They see the opportunity. And so, you know, I see where they're coming from. But think about it. Most of these guys have never done a ponytail. They've never parted hair. this is intimidating for them. And working through hair, those of you that have trained with me or those of you that have done density, it takes a bit to get your technique down, the parting and the combing and keeping that hair out of the way. It slows you down. And then on top of everything else, the pigment's getting caught in the hair. So you're scrubbing and wiping and you're parting and combing. It does take more time, and it is intimidating to these guys that have never had to deal with hair. So you think about it, I mean, it's pretty natural. The market for females is enormous. The numbers show that 40 to 50% of women that are in that menopausal age, they are already thinning. So that's a lot of people out there. We look at the balding numbers and we think that's high, but women's thinning is huge. And the reason that you may not be aware of it is because women are better at hiding it. The paint, the topics, the fibers, the styling, the combing, the scarves, bows, ribbons, hats, what the heck ever. Women are better at hiding it. And, it's embarrassing, it's time consuming, it's one of those things that these women really need some help because can you imagine having to put stuff like that in your hair, living in Washington like we do? Oh my gosh, you go outside once and that stuff's running down your head, running down your face. You can't work out, you can't swim. I can't even imagine. So, don't underestimate the numbers because maybe you're not seeing them. It's pretty evident when we see a bald head, but it's, women can hide it pretty well. So the numbers there are definitely high enough that I would tell you if you wanted to do a career in nothing else but density, you could very well do it. And part of the reason that we've spent so much time on building the density side of it is because I also come from the salon background. I was in the salon for many, many years, and we do see how many women's hair is thinning because they're in that shampoo bowl. If you're an esthetician, you're sitting above their head, or you're doing lashes, you're sitting above their head, and you're up close and personal, and you realize how thin some of these women are. So my first training was, many of you know, not a good experience. And the way they taught density was a nightmare. They literally were tattooing these people's heads black. And I was mortified and shocked, but at the same time, I also wasn't comfortable enough with the technique I learned in that class to do bald men. And I was moving forward come hell or high water with SMP. I'd been watching it many years, and I just was going to figure it out one way or the other. So my first year, I didn't work on men. I only worked on women because I had so many females in my database via either the salon or my permanent makeup business. And I did a lot. I had models instantly when I told people that I could do this. So we were off and running doing females, and the results are amazing. So as we've been training over the last few years, Renata and I started the Trillium Ink Scalp Academy as there was a need for training emerged in SMP. That was one of the things that we did not want to shortchange because, we saw the potential, and because I already had really developed a passion about doing density clients. So we want you to sit back and think about it from that side of it. What do you see every day? When you look around at people, I think you'll be amazed when you start to actually watch how many women you see that can use a service like this.
And Karen is saying she knows because she lives it every day.
Yep, there's a lot of us. I went through an experience myself, and when you go through something it's really tough on your body, heavy stress, or drugs, if you're under certain medical treatments, there's lots of reasons why people's hair, they lose it. And some it's long term, some it's short term. But I tell you what, it is not funny to have handfuls of your hair, in the bottom of the shower. It is not okay with us. So, my heart goes out to these women that struggle with this every day. And there's many, many reasons, and we get into a lot of that when we do our classes. When you do density, people think that it's maybe a different technique. Density is not a different technique. Density still is a treatment where we're mimicking the natural follicles, and we're trying to match the hair count or the follicle count that a person has. When a follicle dies off, it starts to shrink and close up, and it's not that apparent. But when you're looking at a head where there's just fewer and fewer and fewer hairs and more space in between it, then we're coming back in with those impressions, and we're doing them in between, and we're trying to make that count equal to the surrounding the hair, the healthy hair that's surrounding the areas where they're not losing their hair. So density is basically the same thing as SMP. Yes, it is a form of scalp micropigmentation, but we refer to density for people whose hair is got diffuse thinning. It's not a total absent like it is on a bald guy. So when you hear density, it can apply to men and it can apply to women. You know, some of the girls that we've had come in for classes only want to work on women, and that's all they do. But you have to realize, outside of just the female market, I would say majority of people that I've talked to and what I've experienced myself, 35%, maybe even 40% of the men we see have already done a transplant. And many of them have had a successful, what would be considered a successful transplant, but they still don't have the density that they would like. So they want you to come back in because they have an even scattering of hair, and they want to fill dots in, and they want those impressions in there to make sure that it camouflages that scalp that's still showing through, because their hair is still not thick enough to give them the look they want. So, you know, density can be for males and females, but we have a lot of girls that just want to work on females only. So there's not a problem with that. It's an enormous market. Let's see. I'm going to do a couple of questions as we go along. And one of the ones that came in earlier today is, can you do white hair? White hair, blonde hair, we got red hair, we got all these different colors of hair out there. And we teach you when we do SMP that when you shave a head down, all hair is gray at the scalp. We still have to take that into consideration when we're doing females, because shortest way to sum this up is, what if you have a red head and you tattooed her head, say, with a cinnamon brown red color? We all know that colors break down, and as they break down, they fade to their base. What happens when that gal decides to go white? She's going to look ridiculous with this red-brown scalp. And I don't care who you are, I don't care what color your hair is, you're not going to have red apparent on your scalp if you're a redhead and you shave it down. That's not what hair looks like when it leaves the scalp. So for density cases, that's where we have to be really careful with our color and not let clients push us too far, because we still are working with those carbon-based pigments and we don't want an apparent warm look. Some companies, we're talking about this now, we're looking at maybe having a little bit more warmth for density cases, but we've got to be really careful because we have to know what that color is going to look like as a person goes through their life and their hair color changes. So I'm going to have Heidi post some pics for those of you that have asked that question over and over about white hair, blonde hair, how it's going to look. And I'm going to have her post some before and after pics on here later. We don't have the means to do it right now, but we will post some before and after pics of the different hair colors and how density can look on them. Alrighty, so one of the things that I would encourage you to go into SMP density for females in your marketing, those of you that are wanting to try it, you have to understand women see value in this. Women relate it to the amount of time they spend getting ready. They relate it to the amount of money they spend on products, and they just what a pain it is to them overall. Women don't have any problem laying the money down. If they see a need, you know, if you're in the permanent makeup business, they will be telling you, I spend this much money on my eyebrow pencils. Yeah, they could have afforded it a long time ago. So scalp work is not cheap. But at the same time, if you figure the amount of time and money that people spend trying to camouflage thinning hair, these women, they get it. They don't have any problem putting the money down. So it's not a difficult market. All you have to do is show them great before and afters. The proof is in the pudding. You show them those pics, and they're going to want the service that you offer. And if they're on a budget, I mean, we've talked about this. I've got lots of ways that I try to help people out that maybe can't afford it. But in the long run, don't cut yourself short on this thinking that that sounds like a huge number when you're doing a big job on a female, because when you look at the numbers that she's spending, the amount of time she's spending, it's unbelievable. And time is money. So
Karen says, great, thank you.
Absolutely. So one of the other things that I came up on early when I was one of the first ones really doing some density when I was with the company we started out with in the beginning. And there were comments being made by some of the guys. We were talking about pricing procedures, how they thought that density should be less per square inch. And I'm sitting there thinking, you got to be kidding me, really? It is so much work. It is a lot of work. This is not for this is not for the weak of heart. I mean, if you're going to do density, you're going to work. Parting and combing and parting and combing and parting and combing takes a lot of time. So you have to be very systematic about how you work. You've got to be, you want to keep it smooth, and you're trying to see through all that hair. So you really want, you really are working hard for your money. And I charge the same per square inch, but I also know that I have to allow for more hours to do a female client. They will take longer than a male that's the same coverage. So example, if you have a female or a male that's a Norwood 7 and we're billing him out at $4,000, I know it's going to take me, at my speed, it's going to take me about 8 hours to do him, 8 to 10 hours. A female that's that much coverage is going to require more blending, and with all the parting and combing, it's going to slow you down, and so I'm going to charge more for it. It is a tremendous amount of work. Granted, you'll have a lot of females that only are thinning down the part, or they've only got certain areas around the temple that they want done, or they want their hairline reestablished. We see lots of variety in what people want for density. It's all over the board. But when you're talking these people that want a lot of coverage, believe me, you're going to be in it. You're going to be joined at the hip with them, for quite some time, because it takes a lot of time and a lot of work. Women also are great for your business because women talk. If you're building a female business, you know that women share. They share a lot. There are some that are private, but most women are going to share, and that helps you with referrals. Everybody knows someone that's losing their hair. Everyone has a sister or an aunt or a cousin, but women are not afraid to talk. Men are very private about stuff like that. They generally don't talk about it like we do. Women share, and it's much easier for you to build your referral business when you're working with women, because they've got that nurturing instinct and they want to help someone that's got the same issues that they do. They are not afraid to show and tell. So they're really good help for building your business. Density is also not a painful thing. People ask me all the time about scalp. Oh my gosh, that must be painful because you're comparing it to tattooing the scalp, traditionally. Scalp work is so finite. Density treatments are no different than balding heads. It's called micropigmentation for a reason. It is a microdot, and it's barely piercing the skin. It's incredibly thin, between that wavy layer between the epidermis and the dermis. It's sitting there really close. It's got that very minute sweet spot that we have to reach. And so it's not really painful. It's not as deep as a regular tattoo would be. So a lot of clients will sleep on the table when you're in the back of their head. On a scale of 1 to 10, even females will say the same thing. It's about a 3 or a 4. It's not a big deal. And there's no downtime when you do density because they have hair to cover it. So even if their scalp's a little bit pink, they've got enough hair, it's going to cover it. They can go right back to work, and nobody's going to be the wiser that they've had anything done. So it's very easy for your female clients to have this done. If they need to go longer between treatments, or if they need to space it out a little bit for the sake of cost, it's way easier to get by with that with a density treatment than it is with a bald head, because there's no way to hide that. So you guys, while we're chatting, I hope that we've got a couple more people joining on, and if you missed part of it, you can always go back and watch it, but please give us a 1 if you're watching us now. Don't forget to push your little button, and a 2 if you're watching us on replay later. We appreciate that. And again, we're going to plug for the YouTube channel because we're trying to build that. So go to Pam's Impressions and go through our tricks and our tips and shop talk and different things that we have on there. We've got quite a few cool topics have come up in there. Just not things that we usually do in our training, but they're things that help us build our business. And we want to see you guys be successful. Back to the hair color thing. You will have to be very conservative with your colors when you're doing a white-headed person or a blonde, redhead. They don't have a lot of pigment. There's more of an absence of pigment in the hair itself, and that's where I think people can get in trouble with density. And so sometimes you'll see what I think is too much. And I will tell you, if you're going to do density, you're going to really have to learn to rein your clients in. And I just tell mine up front. When I say it's time to stop, it's time to stop. because many of them have been painting their scalp because they're self-conscious of having a bald spot. Then when they're looking in the mirror, if they see a speck of scalp, they're freaking out. So you will have to learn to have a really good, strong consultation with your density clients, because if they do too much, it is not real. And you always, always, always have to think about what's going to happen in the future. What's going to happen if their hair thins more? If you've got their scalp is a big black mess, that is not going to be a good scenario. You treat it just like you would a bald guy. You're matching the follicle count. And so with these clients, when their hair is fairer, of course you're going to do a fairer color. If their root color, if they're an ash blonde, of course your color is going to be lighter. So in a good density class, it's not color theory like it is with permanent makeup, but you still have to know where you're going and how these colors are going to heal in the skin. Because I will tell you, some of those light gradient washes, we talk about working in our 50 shades of gray, doesn't matter. Those lighter shades of gray, they heal in the skin and they absolutely almost look tan. So that's why you'll notice in some of those pictures, it's amazing how it looks on a redhead or how it looks on a blonde, but color choice is everything. So learning when to pull back and knowing when to stop is really critical on these density treatments, not letting your clients push you too far. The average cost, if you're considering doing density, oh my gosh, density is all over the place, like I mentioned earlier, but I would say truthfully, my average density client's between $3,000 and $4,000. So it's a significant service. And for someone that has spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on other options to try to conceal it, it's not that expensive. This is permanent. This allows them to swim. This allows them to sweat. This allows them to go out in the rain and not be freaking out. It allows them not to pull back every time someone touches them, or their husband runs his hand through their hair. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine that. So this gives them freedom from things like that, and it'll make them feel a lot better about themselves. Aaron had asked, he's one of our students, he's the Scalp King in Vegas. This is a really good question, Aaron. Thank you. Can you go from an 0603 to an 0803 in your final session to create density? Or to create, how the question was depth? I think what it was. 3D. Dimension. There you go. Dimension was his word. I just scratched it down here on a pad. Doing a density treatment, if you think that it's easy and it's just a quick way to slam some dots in the scalp, I guess that's what it is. But Aaron's exactly right. You can get different dimension. You can stack your colors. It's all about the art in what we do. Permanent makeup, scalp, it's all art. And I love to stack my colors, and I love to use multiple needle sizes on a lot of my clients. It just depends on what you're trying to match. So yes, you can go from an 0603 to an 0803. You can go from a 6 to a 10. You can go from an 8 to a 10. When we do density, we do tend to use a little bit bigger needle. We still are talking very, very fine needle groupings. If we're using a super tight 3, we want a very crisp dot. But those 3 needles, I almost never do a single needle. I work myself to death the first year trying to do density with a single needle, because that's the only way I could get, what I thought was a good follicle impression. Now we've got some of these super tight and very small bug pens. Those 3 needles deliver a lot of color, and you're going to need it for density clients. And you can do a slightly bigger follicle impression and get a great look. So don't be afraid, if you're already doing density, to mix up your needle clusters. So an 0603 is probably the smallest that I would use on a density case. I will do a single needle if I'm doing a white-haired woman or ultra light blonde or ultra fine. I might dance around in there a little bit on the hairline, because a woman's hairline, you got to remember, when you're doing density, they're combing their hair back. They're pulling it back in a ponytail. They may part it here one day and part it there one day. They want to be able to pull a braid up and get it out. And you don't want to see any lines of demarcation. The blending is critical. And that's part of the reason why, even though you're going for density in the same area maybe you would on a man, we're going to blend it farther than we blend a man, because we don't want lines of demarcation when their hair is moving. And men wear their hair one way all the time. Women wear it different every day. So you want to give yourself that wiggle room. And that's when going around those edges and getting really nice blends, mixing your needle sizes, yeah, it's a great way to do it. I love that idea. So Erin, thanks for bringing that up. So I don't, unless you guys have some questions, I don't have a lot more to say about density. You know, I mean, we can talk about a lot of things. If any of you have any questions, fire away. Remember to give us those 1s and 2s. Let us know when you're watching us. I don't want you guys to miss out on this market. So if you are unsure about anything, you know, you can always reach out. You can message us or you can email us. If you've got my number, you're more than welcome to give me a call. But we don't want you to miss out on the density market. Density is up and coming, and the more that people are becoming aware, more and more dollars are going into SMP overall for marketing. So the public is becoming more aware every day that these services are available. And if you are thinking about, you know, keeping with a female market for some reason, or you're not sure about, you know, if you're not confident enough to jump right into balding men, I always teach density first anyway. And you can start there, learn density, get your business moving, get people talking on the street, because every woman you do is going to know some guy who's bald, her son, her brother, her husband, her uncle, whatever. And women are going to talk and they're going to spread the word for you, and that's what's going to help build your business. So if you're considering doing density, I would seriously encourage you to jump in, and you know, the market is prime right now. So if you have questions, you know, you can always give us a ring. So got any questions coming through, Heidi? I got these two.
No.
And Karen had asked hers, so.
Yep.
All right, you guys, I'm not going to stay too long today, but I am really happy to hear that many of you are starting to consider adding these services. I think you'll be very pleased that you do, because this work is incredibly rewarding. So have a good day. We will send you out notices when we're going to do the next chat. And if you have questions, you can put them out there at any point. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.